Well, another day of fun little tidbits to read on Blizzard. And I've highlighted this because I'm not reading the full article. A lot of it was covered in my first video. But there are some things here that I think are worth discussing. Also, I want to read Chris Metzen's tweets. But yeah. Another aspect that allows problems to fester is that even if a woman has the courage to speak up for herself or report it to human resources, those entities largely exist to protect the interest of the company. And that is 100% true. HR is there to keep the company looking good, no matter what they have to do that. So if they have to get rid of people that they think are problematic, even if they aren't, they'll do it. HR is going to act in the company's best interest, not in yours. When HR has to get involved, it's never good for the victim. 100% true. Our sources said she is subject to humiliating questioning, asked how much of the harasser's behavior was her fault. Okay, that is messed up, because that now boils down to, oh no, but she was dressed that way. That's why I acted the way I did. Or if someone robbed the place, it's like, but I only robbed it because they made it so easy to rob. You can't blame the victim in this case. It's different if someone comes and attacks you and you hit them back, and they go and complain and say, oh no, but this guy assaulted me, and you say, no, I didn't assault you. I hit you back in self-defense because you started hitting me first. That's different. This is pure fucked upness. And told to be a team player and make things easier for the harasser to work with her. That is so sick. You have to be a team player, which means, oh, if he gropes you inappropriately, just brush it off and play along. Because we as a company really just don't give a shit about you. If you start hurting our image, then yes, we'll have to fire you. Going to HR labels her a troublemaker in the department, and retaliation has followed in almost every case I've witnessed or experienced. That ad is... I just have no words for these idiots. Others are calling for men who wake up the overwhelming majority of most studios to hold themselves accountable for creating safer spaces. I'd say that's true for the higher ups, but if you are hired in the lower spaces, how do you go about doing that without losing your job? I mean, I get it becomes difficult because people need jobs to be able to support their families. And yes, while it's good for men to speak out against it, people at the lower end of the company generally aren't listened to, regardless if they're men or not. I'd say that's true for people in positions of power that can make changes in safer spaces. But at the same time, I'd also say people in lower spaces should probably speak out against this type of stuff. I don't know. That's actually a difficult one to try and address. Because, I mean, if I get employed at a supermarket as someone who works on the till, that's my sole purpose. I work on the till. I'm in the lower trash. And a manager is doing stuff that's not appropriate. It's hard to go and speak to the manager without any repercussions, because they're in a position of power, which means they can abuse that power to cover their own asses. Game dev dudes, the thing not to do this week is turn to the woman in your company to reassure you that, no, actually, you're one of the good ones. And I agree with that. Don't go to a woman and say, oh, well, I didn't do anything to you, did I? I'm okay, right? Don't do that. If you need to confirm that you're a good person, you probably aren't. Self-reflect on what you've done to help marginalized voices in your organization. If the answer is nothing, well, it's a good day to start. And that's true, you know, if you, even if it's just going over and consoling someone because they've experienced this shit, that's a start. You know, sticking up for them in the workplace, consoling them. It's better than not doing anything. Men in games dedicate some brain space today thinking about the following. What would you do if a man said something sexist about a colleague? What would you do if he was your buddy? What would you do if he was your boss? Well, me personally, I don't give a fuck. I've tackled my bosses for far less. You disrespect a woman in my presence, I'll fuck you up. I might not win, but I'll try. I don't care if you're my friend or not. That is not okay, and I will not tolerate that shit in my presence. How do these circumstances augment your response? Wrote Lena from Deventer, game developer and board member of the Victorian Women's Trust Feminist Group. No, really, I've spoken to my bosses about far less than that. If they just treat me a little bit unfairly, I go at them. Because when I'm right, I'm right. I don't sit back and have people walk all over me. And I'll be damned if someone's going to disrespect someone else in my presence. The video game industry is great at papering over its problems. Activision Blizzard claims it's all in the past. Whether it's in the past or not makes no difference. The fact is it happened and you did nothing about it. That is the problem. The problem is it's in your company. You did nothing to get it out. While Ubisoft announces time and time again that it's made big strides in making its workplace diverse, inclusive, and equal, despite voices on the inside repeatedly challenging those narratives, the men who predominantly run these companies can be quick to try and turn the page as well. And yeah, they are going to try and cover it up as best they can because they don't want blowback. They're scum. They deserve blowback. They deserve to be expelled. They shouldn't be in society. When the boys' club at Riot was exposed back in 2018, it sparked meetings at Blizzard on the issue that were seen by some as a little more than preemptive damage control for a similar story coming out there. Gee, I wonder why. Maybe it's because you knew you had a bunch of sycophants working at your company. That you're all a bunch of sick, sadistic pieces of shit. Some men try to rewrite their own past in meetings about the issues, adopting the stance of allies while challenging little about their own behavior or the company structures that had enabled a toxic environment to flourish in the first place. Yeah, well, I mean, sometimes being in a position of leadership gives people swollen heads. They get this idea of, well, you know, I'm in a position of power, no one can touch me, therefore I can do what I want to. So instead of trying to change myself, I'm going to try and change everyone else. Ooh, I did something to offend you? Do you like your job? Do you want to stay at this company? It usually boils down to that. Don't let this be a moment that passes us by, one source warned. Start by throwing out the harassers and abusers. Yes, throw them out. Throw them out completely. We don't even want them in society. Get them the fuck out that door. Make moves to elevate the voices that will hold strong and make systematic changes. Hire female and people of color leadership. And not just clean up the mess made in the past, but with the full support, guidance, and funding that predecessors were given as well. Well, I mean, if male leadership had guidance and funding and that, then yes, female leadership should have that same, that same stuff. It's only fair. They should be treated as equals. And yes, problematic people should be taken out completely. As someone who was harassed, I'm reading Sher Scarlett's tweet. As someone who was harassed, violated, retaliated against, had a false report filed against me that was acted on by one of my harassers, and watched one of my best friends be traumatized over and over again by the men in power at this company, I can't express the relief I feel. Watching the men in power be rewarded over and over again over the last 7 years, being blocklisted, after publicly reporting on my own harassment / revenge porn hoarding by a community moderator, their names in this report, it means everything. Former CTO of Blizzard isn't named, it's Ben Kilgore, and rushed to the file inaccurate information is a wild take from Activision, given that I know for a fact that some of these exact things were reported years ago to an external authority, and this has been building over the years. I mean, I don't know what it's like to be harassed, and I can't imagine what it's like for a lot of these people that had to go through this stuff. And then to watch your friends be harassed and traumatized as well. That's got to have some mental effect on a person. No wonder that woman committed suicide. She must have been so traumatized, so depressed that she felt she had no other option. It's despicable. It's disgusting. This should be stamped out in the games companies across the board. And there should be real consequences for these people. Not just a slap on the wrist like Alex. Now, this is something I wanted to look at. Resurfaced video shows Activision Blizzard execs on panel that joked about over-sexualized female characters. A video showing Activision Blizzard executives joking about over-sexualized female video game characters in World of Warcraft resurfaced on Twitter. The video resurfaced amid news the company is being sued and a lawsuit accusing it of having a frat boy culture when women were routinely harassed. Activision Blizzard called the allegations distorted and in many cases false in a statement. Man, Activision will say anything to try and get their image back to the way it was. I don't believe anything they say anymore. No, I can't hear this.
With Little Crest, I love the fact that you have a lot of very strong female characters. However, I was wondering if we could have some that don't look like they've stepped out of a Victoria's Secrets catalog.
Okay, that booing right there already says a lot. Because, I mean, this is going to be very controversial, what I'm about to say. There's nothing wrong with having over-sexualized characters in a game. It doesn't mean that people that create said characters or play with said characters go out and sexually assault women. Men do have self-control. But I think in this context, it's different because all she's asking for is that, you know, she's not saying, hey, you know, we don't want any women in this game that are scantily clad. She's just asking, can we have some that are dressed normally? Which, I mean, it's a perfectly normal question. And then for the audience to boo that badly, what the fuck is wrong with you people? Seriously, what the fuck is wrong with you? I'd love to know what the hell Jay is saying to that guy there. I'd love to know what he said there.
What do you mean?
Wait.
Which catalog would you like them to step out of?
That's disgusting. Look at her. She doesn't know what to say. She really doesn't know what to say. And I know they were joking around with that, but what she was asking for something normal. And it's a reasonable argument to make, you know. Can we please not have all of your female characters looking like this? Can we have some that actually look normal?
Could you see Sylvanas looking any other way? Right. So we feel you, and we want to vary.
Okay, this is Alex Afrasabi. He's a fucking piece of shit. Fucking scum.
Our female characters, absolutely. So yeah, we'll pick different catalogs.
Hey, Alex, what catalog is that Tauran female coming out of?
Not one you'd read.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, look, this, if I'm not mistaken, this was 2016, wasn't it? When was this?
Sexy cow business.
Thank you. Some sort of agricultural.
When was this? 2010 BlizzCon panel. And they were joking like that already. It just goes to show you that, I mean, the devs knew. There's no way Mike Morhaime didn't know this was happening. There's no way Chris Metzen didn't know this was happening. It can't be. How do you not look at that and cringe? No. How do you not look at that and not cringe? It's disgusting. And I mean, Alex's escapades were basically an open secret. And for him to make comments like that is disgusting. Yeah, no, that's disgusting. I want to get on to Chris's stuff. We failed, and I'm sorry to all of you at Blizzard, those of you I know and those of you who I've never met. I offer you my very deepest apologies for the part I played in the culture that fostered harassment, inequality, and indifference. There is no excuse. We failed too many people when they needed us because we had the privilege of not noticing, not engaging, not creating a necessary space for the colleagues who needed us as leaders. I wish my apology could make any kind of difference. It can't. After reading so many of the experiences that have been shared over the past few days, a lot of common themes scream out. I was conditioned to think it was normal. I never spoke up for fear of reprisal. I didn't trust HR. Nothing was going to change anyway. On and on it goes. Friends and colleagues, people I have valued and admired for years, were directly harmed because I was not present enough to ask, to listen, to hear these stories when it mattered. I'm left feeling the same shock, disgust, and anger that many of you are, and having trouble reconciling the place I knew, loved, and worked in for so long, with the hard reality that that has been presented over the past few days. It's like staring at two totally different worlds. But it's not. It's just the one world. And the yawning disconnect between my perception from the top and the crushing reality many of you experienced fills me with the profound shame. Words are cheap, not sure what grand, sweeping promises really do either. Accountability starts with people, not corporations or platitudes or values cast in iron around a statue. Unless we as individuals, and by we I mostly mean men, start to walk in far greater awareness, compassion, and empathy for women around us, in the whole of our lives, not just at work, then nothing changes. So many of us have women we cherish in our lives. I am a father of 3, including 2 daughters, and I want them to flourish in workplaces of their choosing. But we shouldn't need a special connection to the women in our lives in order to protect them, to listen to them, to give them space. It's not enough to just say, I see you and I hear you. When terrible things happen to women in and out of the workplace, we have to be present enough and willing enough to ask them what their experiences are day to day. and then do everything we can to support them with the respect, dignity, and opportunities they deserve. More than making the conscious choice to act this way, we must consistently and thoughtfully model this behavior to those around us, hold each other accountable, and be ready to be held to account and listen at every stage of the game. Chris Metzen. Okay, now, I mean, it's good that he's apologizing, and I get it. In corporations, there are usually disconnects between the upper and the lower people working there. And I've seen it with one of the companies I worked at. You know, you as a new person start at the bottom, and you report to someone above you, and that person above you reports to someone else. And that person that they report to, you can't get to unless you report to them, because you don't have that other person's information. And finding that information in the corporation can be extremely difficult, if not impossible. So I get that there can be a disconnect from CEOs and the people that work at the bottom. It's great that he's apologizing. And, I mean, he had to have known. But this, where he says mostly bum men, or mostly mean men, start to walk in greater awareness. True, but I think the majority of men can control themselves. And I know he's not talking about, you know, men need to stop doing this and doing that. He's talking in general. Men need to start acting better towards women. They need to start acting towards men who are acting bad towards women. I get that. And a lot of men already do that. But I don't know, dude. I don't know how to see this. We failed, and I'm sorry. Yeah, you did fail. You should have made more of an effort to find out by your employees what their day-to-day experiences are. I'm left feeling the same shock, disgust, and anger that many of you are. Well, I mean, I guess you're shocked because of all the stories that are coming out. The disgust that you probably didn't know or do enough to handle it. And I'm guessing the anger is towards the people that did this stuff. As for Alex, I loved working with him and jamming in story meetings. He was someone I thought very highly of on the job, but we never interacted outside of story jams and such. I was never his boss. We never really interacted outside of doing the work or taking smoke breaks. We haven't worked closely together since nice Wrath of the Lich King. I don't know what the fuck that's about. I never heard a peep about him other than he could be tough on his team or an asshole from time to time. So learning all this in the past has just been utterly shocking, just reprehensible shit. Well, it comes down to wolves in sheep's clothing again. Alex acted the way he thought people wanted to perceive him, or the way he wanted you to perceive him. But he was a real douchebag, a piece of shit. And hey, Alex, if you ever see this one day, I hope you never find any peace from this. Because of all your shit, all of your disgusting actions, so many people have been hurt. So many people are traumatized. It's disgusting. But yeah, that's the latest on this. Jeez, I hope I don't have to make a video on this every day, because this is really getting depressing to do. It really is. And I'm sorry, with as much that has happened, I honestly believe that Blizzard knew. Everyone in Blizzard must have known. The degree to which they must have known, I think that varies. But I mean, whispers or stories should have popped up where they heard it. There can't be that huge of a disconnect between CEOs and the people at the bottom. Because, I mean, news spreads. Unless people who were below the higher-ups purposefully kept that shit quiet and tried to keep it away from them, that's the only way they could not have known the extent to which this was going on. And I mean, I'm at a point now where I don't know what to say anymore. Everything I can say has already been said. These people are reprehensible. They're disgusting. They're pieces of shit. They need to be hoarded out the company, expelled out of the company, and they shouldn't even be in society. We don't want these people around us. I'm getting depressed with all this shit. And I can only imagine how these women feel. But that's it. If you enjoyed this video, leave a comment, like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.